Hey there, welcome to day 22 of our time walking together through Hey You. We're moving right along. I think we've got like a week and a couple of days left, but this note at the start of day 22 is a little lengthy, so we're just going to jump right on in. Okay. The title of it is Don't Withhold It. It says, Hey You, God's been dealing with your personality and why you are the way you are. Be quiet at the right times, not just because it's expected or because of timidity. You can be quiet but strong because you speak at the right times. Your quietness is done in wisdom, not in fear, because you know when to open your mouth and when to keep it closed. It's not just about what people will let you do. What do you want to do? What do you want to be a part of? Why? You will need to go into a time of hiding to get the completion of your understanding, a time of being hidden and maybe not seen at all. Don't be afraid. Even if it lasts forever, which it won't, it will be okay. Dig in. Don't use what God has given you to promote or make room for yourself. Keep those things positioned correctly in your hands and in your heart so that you don't live unwisely or to satisfy your desire to be needed or belong when the time comes. You are not destined to fail. It is in your power to choose the way your life will be lived every day. Maximize every day to meet the demands that are there. Yes, for yourself, but mostly for others. Learn to manage yourself so that you can be available for others and not use their time for you. Don't be a part of something just because you don't want to get left out, especially if someone else is supposed to be in that spot or can benefit from it. Withhold not good to whom it is due when it is in the power of your hands to give it. Don't withhold an extended hand to invite someone in just because you are afraid it will mean the exclusion slash forgetting slash pushing to the side of you. Agape love says, no matter what, I will love. Don't let the agape love in you grow cold. The love of God is a force all on its own that can rescue you and those around you. Have faith in its ability to do so. Don't stop loving. Ooh, this one. um, I was just remembering different moments where I know that this became relevant or was relevant. I felt, and we talked about it before, about how I can feel so easily like I'm in the background or I'm unseen. And having something like what we talked about yesterday in keeping some secrets, when something that used to be just between you and the Lord is now, it's been exposed to people and it's something that people can recognize you for or see you for, it becomes a tool that you can use to receive things for yourself. So we've been on this bait of Satan class at my church, but there is a point where we talked about how even with Satan and how he wanted glory to himself. And we as humans are not made for glory. Like we're not made for the praise of men. Like we're not made to carry that. And there's this fantastic book that I just finished listening to, the audiobook of, what it's called, Dealing with the Rejection and Praise of Man by Bob Sorg. But it was just talking about how like we as humans, we're not made for praise. Like there are things that in particular is for God. And so as humans, when we start getting praise and we start getting attention and accolades, and we don't let it pass through us to get to God, like where he gets the glory for it, um, we end up in a position where we are uh, we're easily positioned to collapse because we were not made to carry the weight of glory. Like that's God's. So when people esteem us or when they give us accolades and accomplishments, and we don't let that go through us or flow through us to the Lord, where God gets the glory and God gets the honor, then we are able. We position ourselves to um, just to be messed up, because we see with Satan, that's how it started. With Satan, he That's where the pride came from. Because I was thinking, even then, like there was no Satan when Satan fell, you know? So it was the pride that was lifted up in him saying, I am, I can be more than God. Like I can get what belongs to God, keep it to myself. And like that's where pride rose up. So there was no Satan to deceive Satan. Pride did it itself. And so when we, all that to say, when we receive praise and we don't let it pass through us, we end up having to sit in a state of pride, having to have that like spirit, have that posture of pride because we're defending something that doesn't actually belong to us. So, anyways, well, that went on a tangent, but it was the fact that once we have something that people can can speak into or can lay their expectations on, we have something that we can manipulate to feed ourselves. And so, when we had that originally belonged to God, it was easy for Him to get the glory and the praise for it because it was just between Him and us him and us. But when people start getting involved, they, as much as we want to say they see the Lord, that's not what people see. Like they see us doing something that the Lord gave us. And so their posture is to thank us and to give honor to us. And so if we're not healed, going back to day 18, if we're still looking for things to fill us, then we will let that glory stop at us and not let it pass through. Something I remember Brooke Brooke Ligertwood saying was like she takes what people give to her in the form of compliments and accolades and complimenting her, um, like the gift and the anointing. And she pictures it as like a bouquet of flowers that she's able to present to the Lord at the end of the day. So that it's not like she's keeping it for herself, but she's saying, this belongs to you. So it's not to say that we're like, we are integral in it happening, but the praise of it, the glory of it belongs to God. So that was one aspect of this, of making sure that what we do, like what we do with our hands that ends up getting people's praise and accolades, that we don't have that positioned incorrectly so that it's feeding us and not for like kingdom purpose. It's not the glory ends up stopping at us because we need it to fill areas in our life instead of passing through us, and we're presenting it to the Lord and saying, this belongs to you. Um, and then it was just saying, in order to do that, it's like, again, once people get a part of your life, once people get a part of what's happening with your life or what your giftings are, or anytime people have a say, it can be hard to filter out what voices are echoing the Lord and what voices are echoing people's opinions and what they think should happen. And so it was clarifying and saying, don't neglect counsel. Of course, don't neglect wise counsel, but you have to know what you want to do and what you feel called to do or what you feel God is directing you to do, because people will have, you know, what they feel and what they say, and it could absolutely be the Lord, but you want to know it because you don't want to say, I went this way because someone said it, and you don't have the stability of having heard God yourself to be able to follow through on it. Because if something doesn't end well, or if you run into a roadblock on that road, it's easier to blame, the person who said it was God because you didn't hear it yourself. We just have to have our independent relationship with the Lord. Doesn't mean neglect the voice of counsel. It just means also make sure you know for yourself the direction to go. So in that self-preservation aspect of taking glory and allowing it to feed us, and that is part of making sure that we're taken care of, which is self-preservation. It can also lead us to not looking out for the welfare of someone else when it's in our ability to do so. And that's what the scripture for today is. Proverbs 3:27 says, "Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them." And when we're so focused on self-preservation and what things look like and mean for us, we can do it to the um, detriment of taking care and looking after someone else. And it was just remembering that, like agape love, the love that is unconditional, says that no matter what, I will serve this person. And it's not looking at ourselves and first filling what we need, especially in what we've talked about before, the dysfunctional and broken areas. But it's saying, like Sarah, trust that God will take care of you. You be who you're supposed to be. You do what you're supposed to do in the lives of others. Um, and just in general, do what you're supposed to do and allow God to fill the gap, to make the difference, and trust that He will not leave you behind. So there's a lot of little pieces in that one, but I guess it all summed up in not living with that desire to preserve self, like being willing to lay yourself down, like first, so that God gets the glory, and then so that whatever your role is in people's lives, you're not so concerned with taking care of yourself and filling your own needs that you don't see what's happening in the life of someone else. So that's it for today. That's it for today. But there's a lot from that day. If you have the book or even just from that note, leave me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts were, because I don't think we scratched the surface on that one. There's a lot. But tomorrow we're going to go into day 23 about the God who sees. So I'll see you back here then.